Look at this, our home, floating in a silent velvet black. For millennia, we've looked up from its surface and asked the oldest, most human question: where did all of this come from? Our modern world has inherited one dominant answer: a single, all-powerful consciousness, a spoken word, a universe of light, dark, land, and life, neatly separated, deliberately designed, and declared good. It's a story of supreme intention, a universe with a clear architect and a plan. But what if we've been telling the quietest story in the room? What if this tidy narrative is the historical outlier? Because when you listen to the oldest voices of humanity, voices from the ice, the desert,
Spirit of the wild, awaken within me.
By the moon's light I plant the seed.
Stars guide our hands, wisdom in the earth.
and the first cities, they tell a different tale. A story not of divine intention, but of cosmic accident. Not of order from nothing, but of order wrestled, bloody and screaming, from the jaws of primal chaos. Tonight we journey to the edge of the known world, to a time before philosophy, before science, when myth was the only language strong enough to explain the terrifying wonder of existence. And we'll discover that these ancient stories aren't just about how the world was made. They are brutal, beautiful instructions for how to live within it. In the beginning, there was no "let there be light." There was a gap. A yawning primordial nothingness called Ginnunga Gap. And on either side, two forces. Niflheim, a realm of ice, mist, and cold so absolute it was a substance. And Muspelheim, a realm of fire so intense its borders were guarded by a giant with a flaming sword. This isn't a spiritual allegory. This is physics. Heat meets cold. Where the fire licked the ice, it melted. And from that dripping, toxic meltwater, from the rime itself, life congealed. Not a loving spirit, but Ymir, the first frost giant. A hermaphroditic, chaotic being whose sweat bred more giants. This is creation as accidental biology. The universe literally sweats life into existence. Then comes the violence. Odin and his brothers, the first gods, rise. They slaughter Ymir. And in an act of staggering, brutal craftsmanship, they dismember him. His flesh becomes the earth. His blood becomes the seas. His bones become the mountains. His skull becomes the sky, held up by 4 dwarves. His brain becomes the clouds. This world isn't built, it's butchered and assembled. So the Norse didn't live on a planet gifted by a fatherly god. They lived inside the corpse of a murdered primordial being. Every earthquake was Ymir shifting. Every storm was his final breath. This is a worldview born in the harsh, unforgiving Arctic. The universe is not your home. It's a carcass you survive on. Order is not a given. It's something the gods carve from chaos with a blood-stained axe. Now let's travel to a continent that fundamentally breaks our Western brain. To understand Aboriginal cosmology, we must first delete a word from our vocabulary: creation. Because that implies a finished event, a moment in the deep past when the universe was switched on and then the creator stepped back. For the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, there is no such moment. Instead, there is the dreaming or dreamtime. Alcharinga, Chukurpa, Wangar. Words from different nations that point to a concept so profound, it's often called the oldest continuous philosophical system on Earth. First, let's be clear. The dreaming is not about dreams you have at night. It is not a time in our linear sense. It is better understood as the everywhen, a sacred, eternal dimension that is parallel to and interwoven with our present reality. It is the time of foundation when the patterns of life and law were established. In the everywhen, ancestral beings awoke from a featureless earth or descended from the sky. These were not distant, omnipotent gods. They were the rainbow serpent, the kangaroo man, the Wagilog sisters, beings of immense power, but also personality. They were hunters, lovers, travelers, fighters. And as these ancestors journeyed across the primal canvas, their every action had a consequence that fused into the physical world. When the rainbow serpent writhed in hunger, she carved out riverbeds. Where she rested, she created waterholes. When she fought, she thrust up mountain ranges. When the kangaroo man dug for water, he left a soak. When the Wagalag sisters were pursued, the places they stopped, danced, or performed ceremonies became specific rocks, trees, or cliffs. The landscape, therefore, is not just pretty scenery. It is a living archive, a topographic scripture. Every hill, every creek bend, every distinctive stone is a chapter, a verse, a footnote in an epic story that is still being told. You don't read this scripture with your eyes. You walk it with your feet and sing it with your voice along the song lines. The invisible pathways that map the ancestors' journeys across the continent. This flips the entire script. In the West, we ask, what did God do then? In Aboriginal philosophy, the question is, what is the dreaming doing here, now, and what is my role in it? Creation is not a one-time act by a distant deity. It is a continuous, reciprocal relationship. By walking the song lines, performing the ceremonies, singing the country, the people do not merely commemorate the past, they activate it. They fulfill their sacred duty to keep the world alive, to maintain the fertility of the land and the balance of the cosmos. Your identity is not separate from a place. You are of that place because your very essence is connected to the ancestor who formed it. The world isn't something you live on. It's a kinship network you live within. It's a worldview of profound, embodied responsibility, where the past is not a memory, but a living, breathing participant in the present. Finally, we arrive at the birth of civilization itself, Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Here, humanity built the first cities, invented writing, and with it recorded the world's first great epic of creation, the Enuma Elish. And it reads less like a sacred hymn and more like the minutes of a violent corporate merger. Forget the lonely void or the timeless everywhere. Here the raw materials are personality and politics. In the beginning, there were only the mingled primordial waters, Apsu, the fresh sweet waters, and Tiamat, the salt chaotic sea. They were less places and more conscious entities whose union gave birth to the first generations of gods. But these new gods, noisy, energetic, rebellious, represent a problem. They are innovation, chaos, change. They throw cosmic parties. They stir up the waters of their parents. They are, in essence, ungrateful children disturbing the peace of the old order. Apsu, the father, can't take it. He goes to Tiamat and proposes a final solution.
The lesser gods defy us. They must be crushed.
No, they can be swayed to our cause.
Fool, your mercy.
Your rage blinds you.
This is the first generation gap in literature, and it ends with a plot to commit deicide. But the clever god Ea, god of wisdom and fresh water, overhears. He doesn't plead or reason. He strikes first. He casts a powerful spell of sleep upon Apsu, murders him, and sets up his own dwelling upon the dead father's body. He and his wife then give birth to Marduk, a god of terrifying, storm-like power. The stage is set. Tiamat, now a grieving widow and furious mother, transforms. She is no longer passive water. She becomes chaos incarnate. She gives birth to an army of 11 monstrous demons, venomous serpents, raging lions, storm demons, and makes her new consort, Kingu, their general. The old chaotic waters are now marching to war against the new, ambitious gods. Panic ensues.
This is our chance. We strike now. Why is that cliff?
Stop, something is watching us. Something getting out here.
The younger gods need a champion. Marduk steps forward, but he's a negotiator. Make me your supreme, unquestioned king. Give me the tablet of destinies that controls the cosmos, and I will fight your battle. It's a power grab sanctioned by fear. The battle is
Your storm
cataclysmic.
will not break me.
Marduk, armed with the winds and a net, faces Tiamat. He drives the winds into her mouth so she cannot close it, shoots an arrow that splits her heart, and stands upon her carcass. His victory is not just military, it is administrative. He systematically dismembers her body to build a new, secure universe. He splits her like a shellfish. With one half, he creates the firmament of the sky, a literal barrier to hold back her upper waters. With the other, he creates the earth below. The world is a fortified kingdom, engineered from the corpse of the defeated enemy. But a kingdom needs workers. The gods who sided with Marduk now complain. We liberated you, but who will worship us? Who will build our temples and feed us with sacrifices? They need a labor force. So they put Kingu, the defeated general, on trial. The verdict? Guilty of rebellion. The sentence? Death. And from his blood mixed with clay, the god Ea and the mother goddess Mama fashioned the first humans. The text is explicit. Humanity's purpose is to bear the gods' burden so that they may be at ease. We are not made in a divine image for fellowship. We are manufactured from the blood of a traitor to be permanent, divine serfs. Our existence is rooted in service to a political order secured by matricide and built from a corpse. So, we are left with three visions, echoing across tundra, desert, and ziggurat. For the Norse, the world is a fortress carved from a giant's corpse. A constant, visceral reminder that all order is temporary, hard-won, and paid for in blood. To live is to be a warrior in a besieged citadel. For Aboriginal peoples, the world is a living song, an eternal participatory story where every person, rock, and river is a co-author. To live is to be a note in an endless, sacred melody that maintains reality itself. For the Sumerians, the world is a kingdom built from a dragon's carcass, a political edifice where your birth is a contract of servitude to the powers that rule. To live is to know your place in a cosmic bureaucracy. These are not childish stories we've outgrown. They are the foundational codes of entire civilizations. They answer the same questions our science and philosophy do. Why is there suffering? What is our purpose? Where do we belong? Their answers are written in ice, in song, and in clay. They tell us that our ancestors didn't see a universe that was simply made. They saw a universe that was one, that is sung, that was organized. Perhaps in forgetting these older, stranger truths, we haven't become more sophisticated. We've just made our story of origin smaller. If these lost perspectives fascinate you, if you want to explore the hidden codes of history, myth, and why we see the world the way we do, then you belong here. Subscribe to The World Explained and hit the bell. The past is stranger than we're told. Let's uncover it together.